When you do hit unit level 45 in Wedding Wave, you're gonna get a free 5-star standard weapon of your choice. If you're unsure which one to pick, the one-handed sword Emerald of Genesis is generally our recommendation for everyone to pick because it just has the best stat compared to every other weapon that is available to choose from. It's offered crit rate as a substat on top of a very easy to trigger passive that increases your energy regen by a very good amount and attack percent. It's extremely universal and can easily be equipped onto any sword using characters, but on top of that is that there is just the most amount of user available in the game right now. You can equip this sword on Havoc Rover, which is currently a S tier DPS, and you can equip this sword on Sanhua, who is currently a S tier sub DPS as well. Keep in mind that in the Wedding Wave endgame tower, you can easily share gears, including its weapon. So for example, once you're done with a run with the sword on your Havoc Rover, you can go ahead and do the second run with your Sanhua now. But now you're gonna click the detail button at the bottom right, and then now you can put the sword onto Sanhua. So this allows you to get a 5-star weapon on every single one of your sword characters. Rover in both its form is a really good DPS, including a Spectral as well as Havoc form that can use a sword. You also got Danji, who is also a really good single target damage dealer who can use a sword. And of course, you got Sanhua. Finally, you got Yang Yang. If you're playing it in the Jian team, you can also put the sword on Yan Yan. The sword just not only have the best stat compared to all the other 5-star weapons, but there's just so many sword users that can take advantage of this weapon, making it easily the best choice. But it doesn't mean you have to pick the sword. Now, before we continue, I want to make a very important call out that if you ever have spare Lustrous Tide currency, which is the standard currencies, you should be trying to use it on the weapon banner over the character banner. The main reason is that you can acquire characters rather easily. You can get these characters on the limited banner as well, but you can only get the weapon through the standard weapon banner pool. In addition to the fact that this here is not guaranteed, so the character you get is random. So if you're going for Iron Cold, you may get a garbage like Ling Yang instead, while if you're going for the weapon banner, you can easily pick the weapon you want to get. And so eventually, ideally, is that you acquire one of each weapon because they're all pretty good to have and just get better stat in your weapon. So if you're not playing a sword user right now and you really don't want to pick the sword, it's fine to go for something else. The Lustrous Razor, for example, is a extremely good weapon for Kalcharo. In fact, this weapon is actually currently better than the Jian crit weapon than Kalcharo. So if you're a Kalcharo main and you just want to get him really strong, picking the Lustrous Razor is a pretty good idea. For the other board sword available characters in the game like Jian or Taochi, for Jian, the signature weapon will be a lot better if you do have it as an option, but if you don't, then going for this weapon is a completely fine option. However, for Taochi, I would avoid picking this weapon up. Taochi is a character that scales off defense percent instead of attack percent. So the high attack base stat on this weapon is not useful on Taochi at all. So therefore, I would avoid picking this weapon for Taochi, and you're better off going for either a crit stat weapon or a defense stat weapon. Moving on, we have the pistol. Now, if I have to choose, this will be my second choice. So if I'm not going for the sword, or if I already have the sword, the pistol will be the second best option in my opinion. It has really good stat. Once again, it has crit substat, but more importantly, it has a really good passive. Between the 3 pistol user in the game, both Morphe as well as Alto are more like sub DPS who are more into quick swapping. So therefore, by putting this pistol onto these characters and then you do your outro, you're able to increase your main DPS damage by 10% attack, which is just conveniently adding onto their kit. But if you're playing Chixia, this is still a good choice since there isn't many pistols there available in the game. So this is purely good for a stat stick, but just know that I think there will be easily better pistol in the future. Nevertheless, if one of these characters is your main or you just really like one of these characters, I think the pistol will be an excellent choice to go for. The Gauntlet Abyss Surge is probably the worst weapon of the 5. The only current suitable user is Ling Yang, who is a garbage character. So anyway, I picked it for my Ling Yang anyway. Haha. If you are playing Ling Yang or if you're playing DPS Janshin, then this is currently their best weapon, especially on Ling Yang, since Ling Yang synergizes really well with resonant skill damage as well as basic attack damage. But the problem is that both Jin Xiang as well as Ling Yang are just not really good DPSers. In fact, both Jin Xiang or Yan Wu are more like support and they prefer a different gauntlet instead. Particularly the healing one is actually really good on both those other 2 characters so that you can easily proc the rejuvenating set. Therefore, this weapon is one that I would not recommend you to go for. The final weapon to talk about is going to be the Cosmic Ripper. It increases your attack just like many other weapons, but with a effect that increases your basic attack damage. Now, at the current moment, the only really rectifier user that have a lot of basic attack damage, it's going to be Encore. But if you're playing Encore, it is highly recommend that you pull for the Yinlin weapon, because this weapon is just way too overstated. This weapon increases your critical rate on the substat, but additionally it increases all your attribute damage as a passive on top of increasing your resident skill damage by a lot. If you're able to find spare currency, highly recommend to just try to go for this weapon first, especially with the forging tie that they give us for free. But otherwise, if you absolutely can't get it and you're still an Encore main, then it's fine to go for this weapon, or even on Yinlin. But again, highly recommend to just use this weapon first. It is not recommended on the other rectifier users, which are going to be Verena as well as Baiji, because those two characters are support characters and they much prefer the support weapon variation that give energy recharge as well as concerto energy instead. Hopefully this video helped for everyone who is reaching Union level 5 soon and not sure which weapon to pick. As always, the sword is going to be the best choice just because it has the most users and the best stat, but you don't have to go for the sword. The most important thing is that it is highly recommended that you save your standard banner pool for the weapon banner and eventually collect one of each weapon first so that you can get those stats on every single one of your characters. Alright, with that being said, as always, thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, like, bye.